Let's go.
Hey everyone, and welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a spin on the whole trend of K-pop opinions that do something to you. Usually it involves having their own opinions and sharing their thoughts on any matters that relate to K-pop. However, I don't think I've seen much people actually have questions about K-pop topics. Since they're questions, I'll give context to what I'm trying to say so we can discuss a bit more in the comments down below. Obviously, this may warrant different opinions, so another disclaimer for the people who think there's only right and wrong. Opinions aren't fact. It's just an interpretation of a given situation that can always evolve and change. So let's remember that while we discuss our opinions down below. Other than that, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. But without further ado, let's start this video off with the first question. The question is whether we would have seen Shuhua's improvement if Soojin was still here. I did want to throw Le Seraphine's Eunchae into the mix, but she personally didn't stand out to me like Shuhua has. Eunchae was also added into the lineup a bit later than them, and so that could kind of explain why she was underutilized during the debut. Also, the debut was their only OT6 era, so you can't truly gauge whether things may have been a bit different. But yeah, with Shuhua, she started getting proper lines during era, but never captivated people like that. Her only era for me was really Lion, and that's because she did that intro for the Queendom performance, which was kind of like a low-key symbol of her rebirth into her idol career, as this put her into the forefront, and post-Lion era is when we would start to see her receiving proper lines. But with 2022 and post-Soojin, we would have two releases of Tomboy and Nude, and for both of them, she stood out extremely well. The question for me was that I do wonder whether Shuhua's extreme improvement can somewhat be attributed to the departure of Soojin. She almost had to kind of step up and take up Soojin's role, considering that's kind of the appeal that she's been creating for herself as a performer. I mean, for the most part too, Shuhua's also been taking up Soojin's lines for the title tracks. And with the conspiracy of G-Idol post-Cube, people think that maybe there might be a chance for Soojin to rejoin them. To which, if that did happen, will there be much changes to Shuhua? Like, will she have to take a backseat in terms of being treated similar to pre-Line era? Or will it be one of those things where they could kind of coexist without either of them being prioritized constantly? Since one noticeable trait about G-Idol is that all of the members are so distinct. The recent comeback doesn't really help with my question since she's gone the center for all of the songs they've performed, but my original question was about whether Chaehyun was actually the center of Kepler. I feel like it must have been confirmed somewhere, but I want to focus more on actions speak louder than words. Like, yeah, she did win first place on Girls Planet, and that's the act, I guess, that should have given her the justification to be center, but it really doesn't show. For the most part, aren't centers supposed to take the center position for their performances too? I kind of focus more on the outro center since that's potentially the general consensus of what people assume too. Just focusing on Kepler's original tracks that have performance aspects to it, she has a ratio of almost 1 to 2 in being the center. So that means every time she's the center, there's another 2 songs where she's not. I mean, surely considering she ranked first place, there must be a lot of discourse from fans about this, right? Or could it be the xenophobia that didn't allow Xiaoting to win first place, but is also kind of okay with her sharing the center position without actual official label? Because Xiaoting's ratio is 1 to 1, and that she appears as a center in the same amount of Kepler songs as Chaehyun. The reason I think about this is because the way Chaehyun hasn't screamed strong center aura in Kepler's activities, I just think about how since they really don't have much time left, I wonder what her legacy will be like. Considering for the most part, Wake 1 has been the one that's been pushing her to the forefront, this contrasts heavily with the other official centers from the temporary eminent groups who have instead been the ones to make names for themselves even while in the group. This question is about the importance of position titles and whether they're more of a ranking of skills or whether they should actually mean something for groups in terms of distribution of lines, dance breaks, or other things. The reason I say this is because of Kepler's Dion, who gets rapping lines, but also gets pretty decent vocal lines. I know sometimes it's in the best interest to give lines to those who actually suit the lines, but considering they're a temporary group, how drastically will it change the song for Kepler? I mean, another great example would be Weekly's Monday, who's a main vocalist, main dancer, and also gets rapping lines from time to time. She could basically go solo with the skills that she has, but I don't think she would have received the same attention if she went solo compared to debuting with Weekly. So they instead kind of spread it out with all the other members. However, for Dion, I was just thinking about how Wakwon and Dion should come to an agreement to focus more on one of the sides, so they can let others to shine. Dion getting more vocal lines means that they could highlight Hikaru as the main rapper a bit more, with either Mashiro or Shouting backing her up as the lead rapper. Or if we get Dion getting more rap lines, then highlighting Yonggun, Mashiro or Yujin a bit more vocally. This definitely isn't Dion's fault whatsoever, it's just the state of Kepler. They're kind of highlighting the same people constantly, which actually brings me to my next question. The next question has to do with whether a rigged lineup might just be better, using Kepler and IZ*ONE as comparisons. I mean, definitely justice for all the victims, but the way that Kepler was fan voted for the most part, and yet they've had such a weird journey so far. Like, I can't tell if it's because of the massive influx in K-pop girl groups debuting in the 4th gen, that they've made it a bit harder to tell whether Kepler's on par or similar success with IZ*ONE during the same time, but the whole decreasing in album sales kinda is my small indicator that they might not be doing well. There are absolutely different factors that will play as to why they may not be constantly increasing their success, from the massive competition within the year they debuted, the Pandora's box of Mnet's shadiness being uncovered, to just the Nako treatment to a good chunk of the Kepler members. Nako treatment to me is kind of the people who got so much hype during the survival show, but once they debuted, they stopped getting pushed and made less noise over time within the group. I want to say the people that give off Nako treatment vibes are Yeso, Mashiro, Yujin, and Yonggun. The rest are either getting pushed by Wakwon or have a good significant solo stand. Obviously, this is more of an issue with the company in having the right promotions, considering this was the first survival program for Mnet post-vote manipulation. So that means they surely kept the votes legit, and thus the fans should want this lineup for the most part. It's all just kind of weird, not gonna lie, but with the 1 year and a bit of a contract left, I wonder whether this time period will be what Kepler needs to cement themselves and continue the tradition of having legendary Mnet temporary girl groups. I don't know if this is a question, but it's something I've just been noticing a lot more. With the amount of K-pop groups debuting in the 4th gen, I've noticed a rise in Japanese idols who get put into the rapper position. I mean, from the quick list of K-pop groups I knew, we have Kepler's Hikaru, Purple Kiss's Yuki, aespa's Giselle, IVE's Rei, LE SSERAFIM's Kazuha, Baby Monster's Asa or Ruka, Treasure's Haruto, and Cypher's Keita. I don't know whether that's a lot to you, but considering how big most of these groups are in terms of popularity, it starts to get a bit more noticeable for me. But yeah, is this a coincidence, or is there something in Japan's water that makes their rapping kinda stand out a bit more? I mean, could it be the way they pronounce stuff? Because I feel like everyone's a default vocalist. That's like the most basic thing you need to do to be able to join a K-pop group, but rapping seems like an extracurricular activity. I feel like it requires more effort considering flow changes within each song, and so depending on the syllables per second, it might be a bit harder for an idol whose comfortable language may not be the language that they gotta rap in. Regardless, it would be dope for them all to link up and do something like a cypher, kinda like what XG did. Which, once again, another rising group getting attention in Korea with 4 Japanese rappers. Which actually leads me to my final question. The question is whether there's a clear criteria for defining the genre of K-pop. K-pop has evolved into its own thing, but it's also had a history that has taken inspiration and been influenced by other cultures to form what we know as K-pop. The reason for this question is because of the amount of discourse I see when XG is talked about. People have called them Asia pop, J-pop, K-pop, and just K-pop. And it's all kind of weird because can we really put a label on them? They're all Japanese, but trained similar to the K-pop industry, promoting predominantly in Korea with a former K-pop idol as their CEO, while having all English lyrics. But yeah, can we say for sure they aren't K-pop? Is there a way to clearly classify them? Or is it really a case by case in how Koreans may feel about them? Like, the easiest and frequent point against them being K-pop idols is because it's an all Japanese membered group. My rebuttal to this is that, does that mean that all foreign idols in the K-pop industry are just not considered K-pop if they ever went solo, or just in general on their individual basis? And then we also have other groups like Sky Girls, Honey Popcorn, and the current lineup of Black Swan that all don't have any Korean members. If not this, then is it them just not singing it in Korean? Because then do we classify all English releases as Western pop? So that means Born Pink was a half K-pop and half Western album, while Rosé's solos are not K-pop and are all Western pop. And if XG decided to release new music with some Korean to it, this kind of increases the legitimacy. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like there's a whole system to this. And at the same time, it shouldn't really matter. But the way that some commenters talk about XG when trying to label them seems so intense. But yeah, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and drop your thoughts on these questions that I have. Might consider doing more of these videos, but it'll be a while before I make another one since I gotta accumulate some of these questions. Other than that, my next video release will be the finale of Boys Planet, which, holy moly, I really can't believe it's coming to an end, but anticipating the hell out of the lineup. So please like and subscribe to keep up to date, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!